I wasn't expecting you. Or you. And you too? This might be my fault at this point. Welcome back to the class, everyone. Relic salvage continues to be one of the most persistent bottlenecks in game, and with more relic levels being added and even more characters to add them onto, it doesn't really seem to be going anywhere. So while it might be tempting to go after one of these more inefficient sources, I want to talk a little bit about how to get the best deal for relic salvage for relic levels 1 through 5. And to do this, we have a series of spreadsheets. Now, we will eventually work our way up to the master spreadsheet showing the new episode store and really how Carbonite and Bronziums compare over there as well. That's kind of what the intro was about. There were several people asking for it, and I didn't think it was necessary, but I obviously proved myself wrong in that. But to work our way up to the spreadsheet, we need to explain what are the most efficient places to get these materials, because otherwise that spreadsheet won't make a lot of sense. So we will be starting with the Carbonite circuit board here, and what you are looking at right now is a pack that is not currently available, but it will eventually be available. They come around about once a month. And the reason why this is important is because this stupid pack is the best value for Carbonite circuit boards in the entire game. Again, you can find it in the store. I believe it appears once a month, not right now. But all of that being said, what I want to do is I want to compare it to the other two main sources that you might be able to get Carbonite circuit boards from. I'm assuming everybody who's watching this and needs this gear piece has already burned through their hoards, so that obviously would be the first option. You know, don't go buying packs if you already have a bunch of gear sitting around that you can turn into this. But if you were already past that point, which most of you probably are, you'll notice that if you were to spend 500 crystals to be able to get Carbonite circuit boards in shipments, it's an awful deal. You get about 100, which, as you can already see, is going to be significantly less than our two other options. Now, the other option that I do want to talk about here briefly, and I don't love this for two reasons. Number one, I guess let's actually say what it is first. It is going to light side 1C and farming a specific node that actually has all 5 gear pieces on it can turn into this relic salvage. That all being said, I don't love this because, number one, it's using energy, or normal energy rather, which is one of the most valuable energies. It's how you're getting a lot of your characters, as well as how you're getting your Chirotech and a little bit of Bronzium wiring on the side through that Chirotech node. So while you're doing this, and it might be okay, it is good, there is another cost benefit that might be costing you more. And the other reason why is just purely from a math perspective. Once we take the averages of how much relic salvage you get from doing your 50 crystal refreshes there, which are like the gold standard for efficiency in game, you're still getting less than you would from the pack's average, which I've kind of shown the math here. These are the drop rates for the pack. This is what it averages out to. So you're not going to get 160 salvage every single time, but it should come eventually, or it should eventually even out to that. So that's pretty significant. Consistently getting more, and then on top of that, not having to use what is essentially one of the most precious resources in game. Granted, you are using crystals, so I guess it kind of evens out because this is crystal refreshes, so maybe that's not the truest statement in the world. But at any rate, best way to get it, second best way to get it, actually using the same resource, this is just going to take you a lot longer because you have to do it a little bit at a time every single day. Now, moving on to Bronziums. Bronziums are going to be a little bit similar, but the node that you can get them on is actually going to be a lot better. The first thing that I should say before we even jump into the best places to get it is probably going to be the fact that you're going to get this salvage a little bit passively just by farming this Chirotech node here. Most of your Chirotech nodes, if you have the choice, you should be buying the computer through the shop, and then when it comes to the node, you should be doing the light side version. And the reason why is because you get these Mark V Fabritech data pads, and these just turn into absolute money when it comes to the overall relic salvage. When we go and look over here, you'll notice that Bronzium wiring has ceased to be a real problem for me, and it's purely because I get so many of these both through that Chirotech node as well as another source we'll talk about here in a second. That being said, just farming those Chirotechs and getting that income passively, for most people, doesn't end up being enough, and they end up at a deficit for Bronzium wiring regardless. So assuming you're already doing that, you're already farming Chirotechs, because, you know, most of you are going to be doing that anyways, we need to look at some secondary options to be able to get in this resource. And it's going to come back once again to the relic amplifier pack that, again, not currently in store, but appears about once a month in there for a couple of days. Now, you'll notice here that you're going to get, for every 500 crystals on average, you're going to get 41 relic salvage, which is significantly better than the 25 you would get if you were just to go through the generic shipments that are pretty consistently a bad deal. Now, the one alternative you have to this first option with the relic package is actually going to be refreshing your fleet energy on Fleet 1D and getting an average of 37. The reason why I like doing this second option more than I like doing the one for the Carbonite circuit boards is for a few reasons. Number one, the disparity isn't actually as big as it is for the other one. You're only down about 10% by doing the node for Bronzium, whereas for Carbonite circuit boards, you're down about 15%. So it's more of a loss on that side. And in addition to that, this is using fleet energy, which isn't typically as valuable as normal energy. I realize there's some niche situations where a lot of people have a Gear 12 shortage, but at the same time, typically more often than not, you're going to end up burning way more energy on characters through normal energy. And you'll notice that Fleet 1D that we've talked about has the same exact relic salvage piece that you're going to go and take and just get a ton of relic salvage for. This node essentially killed the bottleneck for me because I devoted fleet energy to this for months and months at a time. The other plus to this is different from normal energy. Fleet energy actually gives you fleet credits, or I believe that's what they're called, the fleet currency that you can use for mods, which I, for whatever reason, always run out of. I have as many normal credits as possible. They've just added them in everywhere. The fleet credits are a lot harder to get from mods. And then in addition to that, and this is a really small thing, but you see this Mark 1 salvage piece right here, or gear piece right here, this actually does turn into Carbonite as well. So it's not a huge amount. It wasn't worth factoring in the math. But again, you're doing better than this. So basically what it comes down to is, I'm assuming most people out there that play just don't have, 10,000 crystals set aside to be able to get both these packs every single time they come out. If you have to choose, buy the Carbonite circuit board pack, and then for Bronziums, since you probably already burned all your crystals, do the slow burn with the fleet node, because at that rate, you'll still be getting a lot, but it'll be more so over time, and you'll get to double dip in some of those other areas we mentioned. One other really small thing to mention, if you are in double drops, then the nodes obviously win. Like, the nodes win pretty hardcore, because these amounts will double. This will go to like 74. This one will go to 274 or something like that. And you'll get more in double drops, but for the most part, this is what you should be doing for non-double drops. Now, we said we would be comparing them in the new episode store, and we will be doing that now. So a little bit of a refresher to what this is. The episode store, this is the main things that it offers here. This is the cost that they cost, and then this is where you can buy said item with crystals, and then the overall relative value. Because what we're doing here is we're comparing the two against each other and then seeing which one has better value. You'll notice that Omicrons have the largest value possible. And then we talked about Chirotech being kind of in the halfway point. And then you'll find that Bronziums and Carbonite circuit boards are at the bottom, along with the mod and Gear 12 pieces. The reason why this is bad is because the numbers that I'm using in here are all from crystal shipments. The reason why this is problematic is because, as we just seen, crystal shipments are already a horrible place to be buying these two materials. So if we were to actually put in here the realistic numbers, assuming you were doing the most economical thing possible, the numbers get worse. The numbers get significantly worse. They end up being some of the worst buys out of the entire episode store. So, I mean, you can still do it. I wouldn't advise it. It's just not the best bang for your buck. You'd be better off getting Omicrons, getting Chirotech, getting your mod materials. Heck, even the shards, if you don't have them, are a much better deal overall. Now, to just finish this off, I do want to talk about the last two pieces, because I realize not everyone is necessarily aware of just really how good or how easy it is to get these last two pieces. So first up is going to be the chromium transistor. I don't have a picture of it. I really should. But at any rate, chromium transistor has been entirely figured out. I did the math for funsies over here to show you how much you get per pack for the relic amplifier pack that we looked at before, but for the chromium transistor, it's garbage. Shipments is garbage. And when you can really just get this entire material for free. In the guild store, you'll notice that you'll find the Mark 7 Blastech weapon mod occasionally in there. It won't be in there every single time. And then what you'll do is you'll take that you have to pay 150 guild tokens for, oh my gosh, and you sell it for an absurd advantage. Like, you look at some of these other surrounding pieces, 150. I believe it's at 150 because it's considered a fully crafted piece. But I mean, it's a fully crafted piece that you buy for 150 currency. It's ridiculous. Like, you should never, ever be salvaging anything that isn't this piece. And I think there's one other one that you can actually get for kind of cheap as well. But for the most part, this is your bread and butter. You really don't need to be deviating from it at all. Now, next up is going to be the Rhodium heat sinks. This is going to be the last one we'll talk about in this video. And we're going to run into a very similar concept with just a little bit of nuance. Again, I did the math for the pack for funsies. It's bad. It's horrible. The shipment's price is horrible. You should never be buying Rhodium heat sinks this way. What you should be doing is you should be going to the guild store that we just showed previously. But instead of using your guild tokens, you're going to be using your Mark 1 raid currency here and just getting whatever absurd amount that you can find in there. It doesn't have to be 125. It can be 40. It can be 10. Who cares? And then this is important. This is very important. What you are not going to do, you are not just going to take this material and turn it into salvage. You are going to craft it first. You're going to take these salvage pieces, you're going to go over here and you're going to craft the full one because it's worth way more, significantly more, because it only takes 30 to make one of these, but it has what, 50 times the amount of value or something like that. So it's, yeah, it's just the overall best deal for this. So get your Mark III hollow projectors, craft them, and then turn them into Rhodium heat sinks. I do want to just give a little bit of picture here, just so we don't confuse everyone. So the chromium transistors that we talked about, this one right here that you want to be using, specifically the Mark 7 Blast Type Weapon mod from the guild store. This is what it looks like. Again, you should really never be using any of the materials in here. And then the Rhodium heat sinks, what you can do, you don't even have to find a character to be able to craft these on. You can come in here and you can just do this right here. You'll see that I have like 840 built up. You don't need to find a character to craft them. You can just go here, throw this over, and voila, you got 50 more Rhodium heat sinks. You go and buy this salvage specifically, and then you lock it so that you don't accidentally salvage it when you're not supposed to. So that is going to be it for today's video. We will be doing a follow-up video for the final relic pieces for relic 6, 7, 8, and 9. Really, I wanted that to be an entirely different video purely because it's a completely different process as to how you figure that out. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this was helpful, and as always, stay awesome.